The whispers started quietly, then they turned into side eyes, and now they're full-blown celebrity call-outs. Because behind the palace gates, behind the Netflix cameras, behind the carefully rehearsed smiles, a shocking number of powerful celebrities are saying the same thing in private, and some of them are saying it out loud. This isn't just criticism. This is resentment. This is betrayal. This is Hollywood, comedy legends, media giants, and royal insiders all circling the same name, Meghan Markle. And once you hear who's on this list and what they've actually said, you'll understand why this story refuses to die.
Family, her father, her ex-husband, her ex-friend, they've all been cut out of her life, right? And it's an interesting observation.
Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. You know, and like she's completely camera ready, except she didn't put eye.
The gloves come off immediately. Stern doesn't soften it. He doesn't whisper. He says exactly what others are thinking, but won't admit on camera. Because this isn't about one interview or one documentary anymore. This is about a pattern that's driving people absolutely insane. A list celebrities, music legends, comedians, TV hosts, even people who were once close friends. And they're not just annoyed, they're done. It starts with Piers Morgan, and love him or hate him, no one can accuse this man of holding back. From the very second Meghan entered the royal orbit, Piers locked in. Every interview, every appearance, every carefully worded statement. He watched it all, and he snapped. He didn't just criticize, he detonated. Calling her Ellen appearance vomit-inducing wasn't just an insult, it was a declaration. Piers believed Meghan was being protected, pampered, shielded by the media while playing the most profitable victim card of all time. In his eyes, she wasn't silenced, she was amplified. And that's where his anger really ignited. Because according to Piers, Meghan wasn't just walking away from royal duties. She was cashing in on them. The title, the access, the prestige, all of it repackaged for maximum profit, minimum accountability.
I said about Meghan Markle.
I am. Would you let me talk?
Ever that's been racist.
Are you gonna let me talk?
This is where Piers goes nuclear. He says she's built massive wealth without lifting a finger for the institution she keeps publicly tearing down. Talk shows, magazine covers, streaming deals, all while claiming she was mistreated and ignored. And when the Oprah interview dropped, that was the point of no return. Piers questioned her claims about mental health support, not softly, not carefully, but publicly, loudly, relentlessly. And the backlash was instant. The pressure was intense. And suddenly, Piers Morgan was gone from Good Morning Britain. But here's the thing, losing the job didn't silence him, it fueled him.
She met Prince Harry, and then the next night they had a solo dinner together, and that was the last I ever heard.
If anything, he doubled down, saying Meghan and Harry didn't just damage the monarchy, they destroyed themselves. And standing right beside him, Sharon Osbourne. Sharon didn't hesitate. When the Netflix series dropped, she watched it, sighed, and basically said what half the audience was already thinking.
Evil Times, which, as you know, is a Disney-type entertainment.
Bored, distasteful, empty. And then came the moment that truly enraged her.
That now he's walking, he's like, oh, I don't want to do it, I'm not doing this, I'll do this. So he's become a diva.
That curtsy story, the medieval times comparison. To Sharon, that wasn't humor, that wasn't nerves, that was disrespect. To the Queen, to tradition, to an institution Meghan willingly married into. Sharon called it a wine fest, and she didn't stop there. She repeated it again and again, even in 2024, saying people are exhausted by the complaints, exhausted by the contradictions, exhausted by the endless storytelling where Meghan is always the wounded hero and everyone else is the villain. And this is where the theme starts to form. You can't cry oppression while signing 8-figure deals. You can't demand privacy while filming documentaries. You can't trash the title while cashing the checks. That contradiction is what drives Piers and Sharon wild. They believe Meghan knew exactly what she was marrying into, and now she's rewriting the rules to benefit only herself. And then the comedian smelled blood. Chris Rock didn't rant. He joked, which somehow cut even deeper. He took the Oprah interview and flipped it into comedy gold, zeroing in on the now infamous conversation about Archie's skin color. Meghan framed it as racism. Chris, he framed it as reality. Families talk like that. Black families, white families, all families. His point was brutal in its simplicity. If you're shocked by that conversation, why marry into one of the most historically complicated families on earth? He wasn't attacking her pain, he was attacking the narrative. Howard Stern came from a different angle but landed in the same place: privacy, or the performance of privacy. Because Howard couldn't understand how two people screaming "leave us alone" were simultaneously inviting Netflix into their living room. He called it boring Kardashian energy, without the entertainment. He questioned what happens when the cameras shut off, when Harry gets tired, when Meghan wants something else. He wasn't predicting doom, he was warning it. And that's what makes this fascinating. These people aren't coordinating, they aren't collaborating, yet they keep circling the same conclusion. The story doesn't match the behavior, and once that perception sets in, it spreads. Kelly Rowland's awkward first-time meeting Meghan moment raised eyebrows when receipts surfaced proving they'd met years earlier. A small slip, but in this climate, even tiny cracks get magnified. Aaron Foster didn't bother being polite, posting Meghan's deal or no deal photos with captions dripping in sarcasm. Never forget, plans to be famous. Brutal, unfiltered, and very telling. Bethany Frankel came in swinging with Crimea River, reminding everyone that Meghan went from relative obscurity to palace life in record time and now speaks like a persecuted revolutionary. Meghan Kelly didn't mince words either, calling out what she saw as elite victimhood, completely disconnected from real struggle. Different industries, different personalities, same frustration, and we're only getting started. Because when music legends turn on you, that's when the temperature really changes. Because once the comedians cracked the seal, the backlash didn't slow down, it escalated. And when the criticism stopped sounding like jokes and started sounding like disappointment, that's when reputations really start bleeding. This is where the music legends enter the chat. And not just any artists, icons, people who don't need relevance, don't need clicks, and don't need Meghan Markle attached to their name for attention, which is exactly why their words hit harder. Elton John's fallout cut the deepest. This wasn't a casual celebrity friendship. This was history. This was Princess Diana's friend. This was candle in the wind at her funeral. This was someone who believed he was protecting her son. According to Harry himself, the relationship cracked during a private stay at Elton's home in France in 2019. Harry wanted Elton to perform Candle in the Wind again on the anniversary of Diana's death. Elton said no, and that single refusal changed everything. Behind the scenes, whispers started swirling. Rumors that private conversations on Elton's jet weren't as private as Harry and Meghan assumed. That comments were made, that things were said they never expected to reach Elton's ears. And once they did, the warmth disappeared. Harry tried to frame it as tension over Elton's memoir coverage, but insiders weren't buying it. They said the trust was gone. And once Elton John feels used or disrespected, there's no encore. Then Sheryl Crow took the gloves off, publicly, on stage, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She didn't whisper. She didn't hint. She dedicated Soak Up the Sun to Meghan Markle, sarcastically, while Meghan was doing exactly that in California as the rest of the crowd froze in New York. The message was icy. Sheryl said she once admired Meghan, thought she was strong, independent, different, but that admiration flipped hard. She accused Meghan of selfishness, manipulation, and burning bridges without remorse. And then came the line that echoed louder than the music: enjoy the sunshine because you're not welcome back here again. Noel Gallagher didn't bother being poetic. He went straight for the jugular. Comparing Harry to his own famously chaotic relationship with his brother, Noel labeled Harry the weak one, the one led astray. And then he said what many Brits were already muttering under their breath: this is what happens when you let someone else rewrite your identity. He blamed Meghan completely, calling Harry a woke snowflake and accusing him of trashing his own family for attention. From Noel's perspective, Meghan didn't just enter Harry's life, she hijacked it. 3 music legends, 3 completely different personalities, same conclusion. Something isn't right. And then television voices piled on. Kesha Shante asked the question nobody could ignore: if privacy was the goal, why move to Los Angeles, the paparazzi capital of the world? To her, the logic collapsed instantly. She also pointed out Meghan's intense, constant staring at Harry during interviews. Not affection, control. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Chrissy Swan said everything about Meghan felt rehearsed. The humility, the vulnerability, the pain, like watching someone play a role instead of living it. Her audience didn't just agree, they flooded her comments validating the same gut feeling. Wendy Williams took a different angle, defending Thomas Markle, not excusing him, not glorifying him, just asking for basic humanity. One quiet moment, one private meeting, no cameras, no headlines. Wendy's verdict was brutal and blunt. Nobody feels sorry for you. Then came Seagar Wall, and her words were the sharpest yet. She called Meghan calculating, strategic, someone who uses sympathy like currency. When old photos resurfaced of young Meghan standing outside Buckingham Palace, C's point landed hard. This wasn't fate, this was planning. And suddenly, the narrative of innocence started collapsing under the weight of repetition. Too many people saying the same thing in different ways. Then the circle tightened. Queen Camilla's doubts existed before the wedding even happened. According to royal insiders, she questioned whether Meghan could ever commit to a life of service instead of self. Those doubts turned into certainty when Harry and Meghan walked away. Behind closed doors, Camilla reportedly called Meghan the Minx, a troublemaker, a disruptor, someone who leaves chaos in her wake. The tension wasn't one-sided. The dislike was mutual, and it was permanent. Tina Brown made it worse. Decades covering royalty, books written, secrets seen, and her verdict? The worst judgment she's ever encountered. Tina said Meghan convinced Harry she had a master plan, fame, power, influence. A formula for global superstardom. But according to Tina, that formula never existed. Meghan chased advice, ignored it, and bulldozed forward anyway. All her ideas are crap. When someone like Tina Brown says that, it's not gossip, it's indictment. And finally, the quietest voice of all, Trevor Ingleson, the man Meghan married before the crown. Before the cameras, before the global obsession. He's never spoken publicly, never cashed in, never defended himself. But Andrew Martin's biography painted a devastating picture. A husband once proud, excited, devoted, reduced to feeling disposable. And when it ended, no conversation. No explanation, just a wedding ring mailed back. Cold, final, surgical. And that detail, that ring, haunts people because it fits the pattern others have described. When someone no longer serves the plan, they're cut off, cleanly, completely. Trevor could speak, he hasn't. And sometimes silence is louder than any tell-all. So when you line it all up, comedians, musicians, TV personalities, royal insiders, journalists, and former lovers, the picture becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't one bad interview. This isn't jealousy. This isn't random hate. It's a chorus, growing louder, more consistent, more detailed. Either all these people are wrong in exactly the same way, or they're all seeing the same thing. And that's the question that won't go away. Is Meghan Markle misunderstood or exposed? Now it's your turn to decide. If you want a revised ending, more venom, or an even darker rewrite, just say the word. Right? Just say the word. Right? Just say the word. Right?